The chandelier above my parents' dining room glittered, as though it had been waiting for this moment, mocking me with its artificial sparkle. Everyone sat around the polished mahogany table, forks clinking against china, laughter rolling like waves. Except when the conversation turned to me. That's when the room shifted. Mom set down her wine glass and said it as if she were announcing the dessert. "The greatest gift for your sister's wedding is if you disappear from our family. Forever." Her words didn't echo. They sank, like lead into my chest. My father didn't flinch, only adjusted his cufflinks as though he were agreeing silently. My sister looked down at her manicured nails, not a flicker of protest on her face. I didn't argue, didn't beg. The salmon on my plate grew cold, while my heart froze faster than the untouched wine in my glass. For 26 years, I had played the part, the daughter who stayed quiet, who worked overtime to keep the mortgage current, who never demanded gratitude. And in one sentence, I was dismissed like dust brushed off their designer jackets. That night, while they toasted with champagne, I packed my things. My suitcase clicked shut with the sound of finality. I picked up the keys, slid them into my pocket, and walked out of that door as though closing a book that never wanted me as its story. The latch clicked behind me, a punctuation mark. Not a comma, a full stop. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Silence became my shield, but silence has sharp edges, and in its cutting quiet, I found a decision forming, because if they wanted me gone, they had no idea just how gone I could be. If betrayal has ever silenced you, share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more. That night I told myself, tomorrow will not be theirs. It will be mine. And the very next day, I sold the apartment, froze the joint account. But that was only the beginning. Morning came like a cold ledger. Columns to balance, debts to settle, lines to draw. I laid everything on my small kitchen table. Title copy, passport, utility bills with my name, the folder my father used to borrow when he needed to check something. I brewed coffee I didn't taste and called 3 people in order, my realtor, my banker, and an old friend who worked in escrow. I didn't explain. I just said, I'm ready. The apartment wasn't just walls. It was history layered in paint. When Dad's consulting dried up 2 years ago and Mom said the market had turned cruel, I moved them out of their crumbling rental and into my place for a few months. Months calcified into rules. I paid, they posed. I covered maintenance. My sister filmed glossy kitchen shots for her feed. "Family is everything," her caption said as I stood off camera holding the bills. By 10 a.m., my realtor had a cash buyer from a list she keeps for lightning closings. We signed acceptance digitally, escrow opened, earnest money hit an hour later. I expected guilt to stir. Nothing, just the soft click of decisions finding their locks. At the bank, I asked for a temporary freeze on the joint household account. Precisely. The one I'd filled for emergencies. My name was first on it. I'd funded the last 5 emergencies, a dress that photographs well, a dental veneer that changes everything, a refundable venue deposit my sister forgot to refund. The manager verified my ID, typed, and watched a little. "Status wheel spin. Done," she said. "Any recent activity you're concerned about?" "Only history," I said, and we both knew that wasn't on her screen. While I waited for the freeze confirmation, I wrote a tidy email. Notice to vacate within 30 days. Respectful, documented, legal. I attached the escrow number and the buyer's timeline. I kept the tone warm the way they liked public-facing things to be. No heat, no smoke, just clean air that says, "We're finished." A text blinked from my sister. "Need your card for my nail trial. Only for a few hours." I didn't answer. Another ping. "Mom. Drop the keys. For the planner, she needs apartment shots today. The bank manager returned. There was a declined withdrawal attempt 5 minutes ago," she said gently. "It triggered your alert." I nodded, feeling the shape of a new boundary settle into place. I almost let myself breathe until my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number, and a man's voice said, "Ma'am, I'm at your door with your father. He's hired me to change the locks." The voice on the line was deep, professional, but tinged with hesitation. "Your father's here. He said you requested the locks changed. But the paperwork he gave me looks odd." For a moment, I stood frozen in the middle of the bank lobby, the hum of printers and quiet chatter muffled by the ringing in my ears. My father hadn't wasted even a day. He wanted me erased not only from their hearts, but from the very threshold of my own home. I asked the man calmly, "Where exactly are you?" "At the apartment," he said. "Your father's insisting it's urgent." I almost laughed. Not from humor, but from the bitter irony. They had asked me to disappear, yet here they were, rushing to claim the very space they once called a burden. I explained carefully, "The apartment is in my name. Title documents confirm it. Escrow opened this morning for a sale. If you change those locks, you'll be complicit in fraud. Do you really want that on your license?" Silence. Then a quiet cough. "Ma'am, I'll step aside, but you might want to get here fast. He's furious." I left the bank, clutching the freeze confirmation like a shield, and drove straight home. My father's car sat outside, door wide, his tie loosened like he'd fought the whole morning. The locksmith stood awkwardly by his van, tools still, in the box. Dad's eyes burned when he saw me. "You think you're clever? Selling what isn't yours? Freezing accounts that we depend on?" I didn't shout. I didn't shake. I only sold what I bought and froze what I filled. "You asked me to disappear. I'm simply granting your wish." Mom appeared then, dragging my sister behind her, both dressed as if they'd come straight from wedding fittings. Mom sneered. "You're embarrassing us in front of everyone. We'll fix this legally." I met her gaze. "Go ahead. The sale closes in 10 days. Every lawyer in this city will see who paid the mortgage for 6 years, who signed the deeds, who covered the taxes. Spoiler, it wasn't you." For the first time, my sister's perfect smile faltered. But Dad's next words cut sharper than any lock could. "You were never meant to belong here. We tolerated you because you were useful." And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just exile. It was exposure, because the family I thought I had was nothing more than a contract, one I had finally chosen to terminate. Yet I didn't expect what came next. An envelope slid under my door that evening, with my name scrawled in my father's. Handwriting done inside was a single sentence: "See you in court." The envelope sat on my kitchen counter like a shard of glass. Thin, ordinary, but sharp enough to cut. My father's handwriting was jagged, impatient. I unfolded the paper inside, expecting legal jargon, maybe a demand letter. Instead, it was a single line: "See you in court." I almost laughed at the theatrics. They had drained me for years, and now they wanted to play plaintiff? I thought of the receipts stacked neatly in my filing cabinet. 6 years of mortgage, payments in my name, utilities drafted from my account, renovations billed to my card. My father's contribution? Lectures about family unity while drinking wine I had bought. But I didn't laugh for long, because beneath the bluff was a truth I couldn't ignore. Court meant exposure. They were willing to drag me into the open, to spin their narrative. And if there's one thing my family excelled at, it was performance. That night, I spread documents across my kitchen table. Pay stubs, statements, emails, my life reduced to evidence. I highlighted every line that proved ownership, every withdrawal, that funded their luxuries. For once, the burden I carried became my weapon. Still, fatigue pressed down heavier than the paper piles. I brewed tea and stared out the window at the dark city, neon signs flickering like false promises. And I remembered my brother. Yes, the quiet one, the only loyal contrast in this entire circus. He had left years ago, tired of Dad's consulting schemes and Mom's social climbing. From a small town 2 hours away, he'd send me short notes. "Stay strong. Don't let them rewrite you." So, I dialed his number. When he answered, his voice was calm but firm. "They served you too, huh?" he said. The line went cold. "Wait," I whispered. "What do you mean?" "They filed against me last month," he admitted. Different angle. They claimed I owed them for college expenses. Dad tried to garnish my wages. I've been fighting it quietly. I gripped the phone tighter. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew they'd turn on you next. I didn't want you dragged in. But now, we fight together." And for the first time since I walked out of that door, I felt something crack through the silence. Not fear, not rage, solidarity. Yet as I hung up, another message blinked on my phone. This one from an unknown email address, unsigned. It read, "Don't trust your brother either." The email burned in my mind long after I closed my laptop. Don't trust your brother either. No signature, no traceable sender, just 5 words designed to split the only thread holding me together. I paced the living room, suitcase still half packed in the corner, documents spread like a battlefield on the table. Could my brother, my one supposed ally, also be a part of their performance? Or was this another manipulation from the people who had spent years turning truth into clay? I replayed every memory. The nights he'd sneak leftovers into my room when Dad declared, "Food is earned, not given." The words glowed on his phone like a warning flare. "Keep her there until we arrive." For a moment, silence pressed harder than any shout. My brother's face drained of color, his hand trembling as he turned the screen toward me. "I didn't," he began, but I cut him off. "Did you know about this?" His voice cracked. "No, I swear. I blocked them last month. They must have found a way through." The old reflex, mistrust, suspicion, self-defense, flared inside me. My parents' voices echoed in my head. "You're naive. You'll believe anything." For years they thrived on wedges, sowing doubt until I couldn't tell loyalty from betrayal. And now, standing in my brother's small apartment with Mom's venom still fresh on his screen, I nearly let them win again. Nearly. I inhaled sharply and studied his eyes. No shift, no darting glance, no guilty twitch. Just fear. The same fear I'd carried every year inside that family's gilded cage. "They're on their way here," I whispered. "We need to move before they turn this into another spectacle." He nodded, shoulders squaring as if bracing for impact. "There's a back exit through the bookstore. We can leave before they even arrive." We slipped downstairs, past shelves heavy with dust and forgotten titles. The owner, an older woman with glasses perched low, raised a brow as we hurried by. My brother simply said, "Family business," and she didn't ask further. On the street, the air was sharp, with rain. I clutched my bag of documents like a lifeline, while my brother checked over his shoulder. No sign of them yet. "Where now?" I asked. He hesitated, then said, "To someone who won't play their game. My attorney." The drive was tense. Every set of headlights behind us felt like pursuit. Every traffic light a trap. By the time we pulled into the attorney's office, my nerves were shredded thin. Inside, the lawyer, a stern woman with steel gray hair, listened as we unfolded everything. Title deeds, bank freezes, court filings, Mom's manipulative text. She flipped through the pages with steady hands, expression unreadable. Finally, she looked up. "They've built a house of cards, and you've already pulled out the foundation." Relief almost bloomed until she added, "But you should know. They've filed an emergency petition. They're claiming mental instability on your part. If the judge believes them, you could lose control of your assets before the sale closes." I gripped the table edge, cold creeping into my veins. My family hadn't just disowned me, they were trying to erase me. The courthouse smelled of old wood and dust polished with fear. My heels clicked against marble floors that had carried countless verdicts. I held my folder of evidence like armor, though my hands shook beneath its weight. My parents arrived as if stepping onto a runway. Mom's hair was sculpted, her dress immaculate. Dad wore his best suit, jaw locked in righteous indignation. My sister trailed behind, veil of innocence wrapped around her like silk. They looked less like a family and more like actors entering a play they'd rehearsed their whole lives. Their attorney, a smooth man with a smile too sharp, presented the petition first. Claims that I was unstable, incapable of handling finances, prone to emotional outbursts. He painted me as fragile, reckless, even dangerous with money. Each word felt like a knife, twisting what they had whispered for years. "You're overreacting. You're dramatic. You don't belong in charge." When the judge turned to me, I stood tall. "Your Honor, I may not have their gloss, but I have their bills." I slid forward statement after statement, highlighting every payment I'd made, every expense they had hidden behind my back, property taxes in my name, utility drafts from my account, escrow confirmations stamped and signed, evidence louder than their polished lies. My brother rose too, placing his own folder beside mine. His filings mirrored mine, fabricated debts they tried to saddle him with, their signatures betraying them. Together, our documents stacked into a tower taller than their entire case. The judge's eyes narrowed. "So, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, you claim your daughter is unstable, yet she appears to be the sole financial backbone of your household. Do you have proof otherwise? Silence. Mom's smile faltered. Dad's jaw twitched. My sister's eyes darted toward the gallery. The judge leaned back. I suggest you reconsider your claims before they crumble entirely. For the first time, I saw panic flash across my mother's face. The same woman who told me to disappear now looked as if she might vanish herself. Still, the performance wasn't over. Their attorney stood again, desperation hidden under smoothness. Your Honor, if I may, there is new evidence that questions the integrity of the property sale. And then he held up a document I'd never seen before, bearing my forged signature. The forged signature glared up from the page like a ghost wearing my face. My stomach twisted, but I didn't flinch. If I showed fear, they'd win. Not in the courtroom, but in the narrative they craved. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Taylor, is this your signature? I met his eyes, steady. No, and I can prove it. I pulled out my folder, sliding forward every notarized document I'd filed in the past 6 years. Clean, consistent, witnessed by professionals. Then, from the bottom pocket, I revealed a recent letter from the escrow officer, verifying my signed authorization for the sale. Their seal gleamed under the lights. Compare them, I said, voice clear. One is mine, the other is their imagination. The judge nodded to a clerk, who took the documents for examination. Within minutes, it was obvious. The forged strokes trembled where mine were sure, letters bent where mine stood straight. The courtroom shifted. My parents' attorney stammered, "Perhaps a misunderstanding?" But the judge cut him off sharply. Enough. This court does not tolerate perjury, nor attempts to manipulate its process. The petition is denied. The sale may proceed, and I strongly advise counsel to discuss with your clients the penalties for submitting forged documents. Silence fell. Heavy, cracking, final. My mother's hand flew to her pearls, her face paling beneath the layers of powder. My father slumped in his chair, tie suddenly strangling. My sister blinked rapidly, as though rehearsing tears that refused to arrive. I gathered my papers slowly, each one sliding back into the folder like a stone placed on a grave. Then I stood. Your Honor, I said softly, they wanted me to disappear. Consider this my farewell. The gavel struck, sealing the end not just of the case, but of the illusion that had bound me for 26 years. That evening I walked into the empty apartment one last time. Sunlight fell across the floorboards I had polished, the windows I had washed. I turned the key, not out of habit, but ceremony. The lock clicked, a true punctuation mark. I left the keys on the counter for the buyer, stepped outside, and didn't. Look back, my phone buzzed, my brother's message. It's over. You're free. For the first time in years, I believed it. Have you ever forgiven someone who didn't deserve it? Tell me below. And subscribe for more true tales. Because when my parents demanded the gift of my absence, they never expected the gift I'd leave behind. Freedom has a price. And I made them pay.